non-interaction system is the interacting system. You can see that here the output of the second time depends on the output of the first time. But the output of the first time is not dependent on this. Like this, if you look at the interacting system, the output of the second time depends on the output of the first. But at the same time, the output of the first is also dependent on the first. Isn't it? So in interacting, you can see that there is a interacting dynamics between all the capacities. Okay. Then after that, we have tried to design the expression for both the cases, isn't it? Remember, second order system we have usually overdamped system, then critically damped system and underdamped system. So whenever we have multiple capacities in series, we always get overdamped system, isn't it? In this particular case, most of the time we will get the overdamped system, and at max we can get a critically damped, but we will not get the underdamped. Underdamped is not possible. Okay. We can get overdamped and we can get critically damped. So we can get overdamped when the time constant of this first system is different and the time constant of second system is different, isn't it? When the time constant of both the systems are different, in that case we get overdamped. But whenever the time constant of both these systems are same, then we get critically damped, isn't it? But unlike this, if you look at the interacting systems are always give you overdamped. You will not get critically damped, you will not get underdamped at all. You can get only overdamped. Okay. So this experiment we are going to look at in the next semester, process control lab. In the process control lab, we will be seeing this experiment. interacting and non-interacting tank. Okay. So this is what we have proven in the last class, that whenever we are having two capacities arranged in a non-interacting manner, the roots of the denominator will be minus 1 by tau p1 and minus 1 by tau p2, where tau p1 and tau p2 are the time constant of tank 1 and tank 2, and both tau p1 and tau p2 cannot be negative, isn't it? Therefore minus 1 by tau p1 and minus 1 by tau p2, these are the roots located on the left hand side of the imaginary axis, and therefore system is stable, and at the same time the response is oscillating, response is exponential. You will not get the oscillatory response at all because the system is overdamped, isn't it? If this tau p1 and tau p2 both are same, in that case you get critically damped. So that you get whenever you are having the equal size tank. So if you are assuming that the resistance is same, in that case you get critically damped system whenever the size of the tank is same. Okay, is it clear? Then we started looking at interacting tank. In the interacting tank, you can see that if I look at this final expression, which is giving me how the height of the second tank depends on the inlet flow rate, isn't it? This additional term A1 R2 comes into the picture. If I look at the non-interacting case, in a non-interacting case, we don't get this additional term, isn't it? You don't get this additional term. So this additional term A1 R2, this is referred as interacting factor. Higher is the value of this interacting factor, more is the system, more is the overdamping nature, isn't it? So your beta value is going to increase as A1 R2 increases, isn't it? So as the value of interacting factor increases, your system becomes more and more overdamped. Okay. So you can see that when the system is becoming more and more overdamped, what it means? It means that the system response is delayed and sluggish. It's going to become more and more delayed and sluggish, isn't it? So you can see that the response of the non-interacting system is faster compared to non-interacting. Is it clear? Yes or no? This is typically asked questions in the interview. Why the non-interacting system is faster than the interacting system? Answer for that means in a non-interacting, in an interacting system, additional interacting factor A1 R2 will be there, and as the value of A1 R2 increases, your damping factor increases. That means your system becomes more and more overdamped. And as the system becomes more and more overdamped, the system response is going to become more sluggish and delayed. And therefore, the response of interacting system is slower compared to the response of non-interacting. Is it clear to everyone? Towards the end, in the last class, we have seen this analysis where we said, okay, let's look at this interacting system similar to the non-interacting. So what we are doing, there is this additional interacting factor is there, but including this interacting factor, we are going to find out the poles of the denominator, isn't it? Roots of the denominator, which we call it as poles, and then based on these poles, we are going to find out the time constant, isn't it? And then in terms of the time constant, we are going to represent two non-interacting capacity, isn't it? That is what we have done here, isn't it? So in this case, because of this additional factor, we can find out the roots of this denominator. This is the quadratic equation, isn't it? So roots of the denominator will be given by this particular equation. So in your note, there are some small mistakes are there. Okay, this minus sign is not there. There are some small mistakes are there. Please look at it carefully. Okay. So these are the two roots are there, isn't it? You can see that whatever the term which is there in this under root, this term is going to be always positive. This particular term is going to be always positive. That means what? These roots are going to be always real. These roots are going to be always real, isn't it? You will not get imaginary roots. So that means what? Whenever you are having the interacting capacities, you are always going to get overdam system. You will not get underdam. Underdam you get whenever the roots are imaginary. In this case, you will not get the imaginary roots at all. Because this term is always positive. You will not get the imaginary roots. So if you don't get the imaginary roots here, that means the response is going to be always overdam. Okay. Once we have obtained this, now in terms of P1 and P2, let's represent this P1 and P2 in terms of the, remember in this case tau P1 and tau P2, these are the actual time constant if we consider these individual systems separately. But when we are combining them, because of interaction, their apparent time constants are different. Their apparent time constants are different. So we can calculate their apparent time constants as tau 1 and tau 2. Let's represent tau 1 as minus 1 by P1 and tau 2 as minus 1 by P2. So what we are doing? We are representing this interacting system similar to non-interacting by doing this. Where tau 1 and tau 2, these are the apparent time constant when both the systems are arranged in an interacting manner. Isn't it? So if I take the ratio of tau 1 and tau 2, what we get is that is given as P2 by P1, and you can see that tau 1, which is, even though tau P1 let's say same, let's say this tau P1 is same, tau P1 is same and tau P2. That means both the times are having the same time constant initially. Whenever both the times are having the same time constant, if we arrange them in a non-interacting manner, what we are expected to get? Critically damped. But in an interacting case, you will see that one of the apparent time constant is going to increase because there is a plus term is there. And another apparent time constant is going to decrease. So that means one time constant is increasing, one apparent time constant is increasing, whereas another apparent time constant is decreasing, even though the actual time constant of both the processes are same. Isn't it? So clearly, in this case, the higher is the value of the time constant, that will become rate limiting. Remember, higher is the value of time constant gives you what? Speed of response. Isn't it? So that will dominate. The higher value of the time constant will dominate, and that will give you the total speed of the response. Isn't it? So in this case, you can see that because of this interaction factor, this tau 1 will increase and this tau 2 will decrease, and because of that the system response is going to, overall the system response is going to be slower compared to when we are having two capacities arranged in a non-interacting manner. Is it clear? Yes, no? Or it is all becoming bouncers, going out of range. क्या बोला? इतने सारे लोग अभी से सो रहे हैं, ये तो शुरुआत भी नहीं हुई बेटा। कहाँ है आप? क्लास में हैं? Okay, so up to this we have seen in the last class. Now let's look at the, so far our discussion was concentrated only on multiple capacities in series. Remember we said second order system you can get inherently second order system as well. Then let's look at the inherently second order system. So inherently second order system we get whenever we are having the inertia present in the system. So in this case the balance equation is the force balance. So force balance will be given as mass of system into acceleration. So if you put this, acceleration is nothing but what? Acceleration is nothing but change in velocity per unit time, and velocity is change in displacement per unit time. So if you put that, you will get a second order differential equation in terms of displacement. Isn't it? So you get inherently second order differential equation, and therefore you get a second order system directly. Okay, is it clear? So far we were doing what? We were having multiple first order systems in series. Isn't it? So overall second order differential equation we were getting, but that is because two first order differential equations were coupled. That is the reason why we got second order earlier. In this case, we are getting directly a second order. Okay, let's look at the example. So this is a U2 manometer. This particular experiment also you are going to see next semester in process control lab. Okay, so typically U2 manometer is applied between whenever you wanted to find out the pressure drop in a pipeline. Typical example is if you wanted to measure the flow rate. How you measure the flow rate? You measure the flow rate by using modified meter or Venturi meter. Correct? And whenever you are trying to find out the flow rate, you require pressure drop across the equipment. And that pressure drop then you convert it into a flow rate. Correct? Isn't it? So how you find out the pressure drop? This particular arm will be put before the orifice meter and the second arm will be after the orifice. Correct? And then you find out the pressure drop. Correct? Isn't it? Now in this case, let's say there is a pressure P1 is acting on this left side arm and the P2 is the pressure acting on the right hand side arm. Let's say if there is no pressure drop in the pipeline, in that case this P1 and P2 will be same. And you can see that the level of this manometer will be exactly same. So there will not be the height here will be 0. Isn't it? So this dotted line which is there, it is a reference line. So both manometer arms will be exactly located at this horizontal line when there is no pressure drop inside the system. Okay. Let's say if we are having, let's say, some pressure drop in the line, that means P1 is higher and P2 is small, isn't it? In that case, what will happen? This manometer liquid will move down here, and here the manometer liquid will move up, isn't it? So you can see that there is a displacement of the fluid is taking place. Remember what we said? We get a inherently second order system whenever there is a displacement of whenever there is a motion of the fluid is happening, isn't it? And there is the inertia associated with that. Then we get this inherently second order system. So here you can see that whatever the manometer fluid is there, that is moving here, isn't it? So we can apply a force balance here. So force balance in this case will be what? Force due to P1 minus force due to this P2, isn't it? Correct? And then since the level of the liquid here is lower and the level of the liquid is here is higher, you will have hydrostatic head will be there, and that hydrostatic head will also lead to a force, isn't it? So that hydrostatic force is represented here. So force due to difference in liquid levels in the two legs. Correct? The another thing is, since this fluid is moving in this U2 manometer, there will be friction occurring, and because of friction, you will have a force due to friction, isn't it? And it should be equals to mass into acceleration. Mass into acceleration. Correct? So this is the equation. Let's put the individual terms in this equation and solve it, isn't it? So you can see that the first term will be P1 into A1. That will be the force acting on this left hand side arm, P1 into A1, isn't it? Minus P2 into A2. So that is the second term. Then the third term is hydrostatic head. Because of hydrostatic head, how much force is acting. So that is calculated here. So rho g into this volume, isn't it? So in this case, the height is changing, which is 2h in this case. So rho g into A2 into 2h minus force due to friction, and that should be equal to m dV by dt. M dV by dt. Again, we can replace this m will be given by density of the liquid into cross sectional area into the length of the fluid in the manometer, isn't it? Correct. So that will be rho AL. So AL will give you the volume of the liquid present in the manometer into this rho, that will be nothing but the mass, isn't it? And multiplied by, this is acceleration which is given as dv by dt, and if we represent in terms of the displacement, here displacement is given in terms of the height, so that will be given as d square h by dt. Correct. Now everything is known in this except this force due to friction. So force due to friction we have to calculate. So in this case we are assuming that the Hagen-Poiseuille equation is valid. Using that we are calculating the force due to friction. So in this case force due to friction is nothing but what? Drop in pressure due to friction into cross sectional area. So that is given as delta P into pi r square, isn't it? And this delta P we are going to calculate from Hagen-Poiseuille equation. So that is given by, so volumetric flow rate will be given as A ds by dt, and volumetric flow rate is given by what? Average velocity into cross sectional area. Average velocity using the Poiseuille equation is this 8 mu L. So the average velocity will be given by delta P by 8 mu L into r square. That will be the average velocity multiplied by cross sectional area is pi r square. So that becomes delta P pi r raised to the power 4 divided by 8. Okay. This is the same Poiseuille equation which you might have done in your fluid mechanics. Isn't it? Correct? Yes, no? Done or not done? Done but erased from memory. Erased, deleted. There is no trace. Isn't it? You don't want it to track it back, is it? Alright. Okay. So this is the equation we have obtained. Now this particular equation we are rearranging to find out delta P. Remember this delta P and the pressure drop here, those are different. Here this pressure drop is because of friction. Isn't it? So this delta P we can calculate as, we can rearrange this term. So this delta P comes out to be 8 mu L A by pi r raised to the power 4 into ds by dt. And this delta P multiplied by pi r square, that will be force due to friction. So this pi r square, if you multiply here, what we get is 8 mu L A divided by r square into ds by dt. This is what we are expecting. And you can put this in this equation and then rearrange. So this is the equation we have obtained after putting this force due to friction in this equation. So in this particular equation you can see that this equation is a second order differential equation in H, isn't it? I can rearrange this equation. So if I divide this entire equation by 2 rho g a, if I divide this entire equation by 2 rho g a, in that case you can see that here what we will left with L by 2g, d square h by dt square, and this all is minus terms I am taking on the right hand side. So that becomes 4 mu L by rho g r square ds by dt plus h, and that will be equal to delta P by 2 rho g. And again we can represent each of these terms. So L by 2g we can take as tau square. This 4 mu L by rho g r square we can take it as 2 zeta tau, isn't it? And this 1 by 2 rho g we can take this as kp. So if you do that, this entire equation becomes the usual second order equation, isn't it? Second order transfer function, isn't it? So once we have obtained this equation, we can take the Laplace transform and we can find out Hs by delta Ps is given as kp divided by tau square h square divided by 2 kp divided by tau square h square plus 2 zeta tau s plus 1. Here tau square is given as L by 2g. Again 2 zeta tau is given as 4 mu L by rho g r square, and kp is given as 1 by 2 rho g. Now the interesting thing here is this particular system, even though you will not be able to say whether this system is over dam or under dam, isn't it? But this system, when you will perform the experiment in the lab next semester, you will see that this particular system is going to give you under dam system. So whenever, in fact, you might have seen this in your fluid mechanics lab also. Whenever there is a pressure drop, your manometer reading do not settle to a same value, it fluctuates, isn't it? And then it settles. So whenever there is a fluctuation, what it means? It is nothing but there are oscillations, and then you are settling down. So clearly, this is the example of underdamped system. It's an example of underdamped system. Okay. We are not able to prove it here, but later on you will see that in fact if you put these values of Kp, remember in this case tau square is L by 2g and this Kp is 1 by 2 rho g, and all these values if you put, you will see that zeta comes out to be less than 1. Zeta comes out to be less than 1. Okay. If you put all these values, all these physical values here, you will find zeta comes out to be less than 1, and therefore the system response is going to be underdamped. भैया YouTube से बाहर तो आओ, कितना YouTube देखोगे? क्या देख रहे थे? मैंने देखा यार, तुम देख रहे थे, तुम ओपन करा, मैं आपके बराबर बंद कर दिया तुमने। ये भाई सब कुछ और देख रहे हैं। कितने लोगों के फोन है यार? दिखाओ। आप भी कुछ देख रहे थे फोन में। कुछ अगर विशेष बात हो तो बताओ। आपकी योर फ्रेंड्स विल आल्सो एंजॉय इफ देयर इज समथिंग स्पेशल। अगर स्पेशल नहीं तो ध्यान दे दो, एग्जाम आने वाली है, ठीक है? ये तो सॉल्व है, ये तो स्लाइड में सॉल्व है। लग रहा है आपको ये आएगा? ये नहीं आएगा, ये नहीं आएगा, इसके आगे का ही आएगा। जो भी आएगा इसके आगे का ही आएगा। एंड आई एम डैम श्योर कि अगर आप ध्यान नहीं दोगे तो आपको कुछ नहीं आएगा। दैट इज आल्सो आई एम डैम श्योर। आई एम टेलिंग यू द पास्ट रिकॉर्ड इन माय कोर्स, यूजुअली द एवरेज इज 7 आउट ऑफ 20। तो आपको 7 में रहना है या 0 में रहना है, दैट यू डिसाइड। अगर पढ़ोगे नहीं, if you are in a wrong impression that this examination is an open book, you have sadly mistaken. ओपन बुक नहीं है ये। ओपन बुक का मतलब है कि आपसे कुछ चलेगा ही नहीं। ये है उसका मतलब, समझे? ठीक है, तो अभी ध्यान दे। हाँ, पूछो।
है फिर किसी से क्यों टेंशन?
तो जी so see initially my nanometer, see this is the liquid level. Initially when there is no pressure drop, then this liquid level
Anish सबको दो बात फाड़ देगा।
when there is a pressure drop, because of that this will go down and this will go up. So how much is the height? And what this is nothing but a hydrostatic force due to hydrostatic head. What will be the hydrostatic head? Hydrostatic head will be 2h into 4g, isn't it? So okay. In this case, what we are assuming that in this R1 the area is A1. In this R area is A2. Actually, A1 and A2 both are same. A1 and A2 are the cross sectional area of the R. अलग आ जाएगा, यहाँ आ जाएगा। हाँ, in this case H into A1 और H into A2, ठीक है? But just for a simplicity, we are assuming that all these A1, A2, all these cross-sectional areas are actually same. There is one more derivation in the book on a diaphragm wall. Please look at that also. You will get a second order differential equation there. Don't just rely on what I am doing in the class. There are several unsolved and solved examples given in the book. Of course, nothing from there will come, but will give you some idea. Okay. ठीक है? Okay. So in this case, you will get a inherently second order system. Inherently second order system you are going to get. Okay. Now let's move to the last case. The last case is whenever I am having first order system associated with its controller. Remember we said second order system you can get by 3 ways. First way is whenever you are having two capacities in series. Second is whenever you are having inherently second order system, and the third one is whenever you are having a first order system associated with this controller. Okay, so let's look at the third case. Now in this case you can see that there is a first order system. The tank system is going to give you a first order dynamics, isn't it? Correct? How the height of the tank is going to change whenever there is a disturbance in inlet flow rate, isn't it? You are going to get a first order differential equation. A dx by dt is given as Fi minus F naught, isn't it? And if you put F naught is equals to, let's say, H by R, you will get a first order transmission, isn't it? Correct. Now in this particular case, what we are doing is, whenever there is a change in the height, isn't it? I am using a PI controller. This PI controller is going to modulate the outlet flow rate so that the height of the liquid is maintained within the tank, isn't it? So I am looking at first order system associated with this controller. Okay. Now let's look at the model equation here. So A dx by dt is equal to Fi minus F naught. I can write down this equation at steady state that becomes Fis minus F naught s, that is equal to 0. And if I subtract, what we get is A dx dash by dt is equal to Fi dash minus F naught dash. Correct. Now in this case you can see that this F naught dash is nothing but what? F naught dash we are controlling by using a valve. So it's a manipulated variable, isn't it? So value of the F naught will be given by controller, isn't it? Controller is going to modulate the valve, and based on that this F naught is going to change. Correct. Let's assume that in this case, let's say there is a PI controller. So PI controller will measure the change in the height here, and depending on the change in the height, so change in the height is nothing but what? It's the error, isn't it? So depending on this error, then the controller is going to increase or decrease the outlet flow rate. Correct? By using a proportional integral controller. So in this case, if I wanted to write down the expression for this PI controller, it will be given as F naught minus F naught s. So that is nothing but what? F naught dash, isn't it? So F naught dash is given as Kc h dash. So Kc h dash, if I put only F naught dash is equal to Kc h dash, what it means? It means proportional control. So that means what? I am modulating F naught based on the change in the height, isn't it? But this additional term is coming here because of integral control. So integral controller does what? It is given as Kc by tau I integral 0 to t h dash t dt. This h dash t is nothing but what? It's a error. So you are finding out the integral of the error with respect to time, isn't it? And this additional term is added into a proportional action, so that is called a PI controller. Remember the same expression we have derived initially when we have looked at proportional controller, PI controller and PID controller. And I said at that time, you will come back to this again, isn't it? So this is the PI controller expression, isn't it? Now this F naught, which is here, F naught dash, I can replace by this here in this equation and find out. Now you can see that whenever there is a height h dash t is, let's say, greater than 0, what it means? It means that the height of the tank, height of the liquid in the tank is higher than your steady state value. So in that case you will see that F naught is going to increase. F naught is going to increase. So more liquid will be taken out from the tank. Whenever h dash t is negative, in that case the valve will be closed and this F naught dash will be decreased, isn't it? Similarly, whenever this h dash t is 0, in that case nothing will happen and this F naught will be same as F naught s. Correct? So now let's look at this equation. In this equation, this F naught dash we have replaced by this particular equation, which is Kc h dash plus Kc by tau I integral 0 to t h dash t dt. So if we put this particular expression here, what we get is this will be here, isn't it? And if I take it on the left hand side, that becomes a dh dash dt plus this entire term. So that is what we have written. A dh dash dt plus Kc h dash plus kc by tau y under root kc by tau y integral 0 to t h dash t dt, and that should be equals to fi dash. Again, take the Laplace transform of both the sides. What you get is this will be a s h dash s, this will be kc h dash s, this will be kc by tau y, and remember Laplace transform integral is given by what? H dash s divided by s. So this denominator we will have one more s here, isn't it? And that should be equal to fi dash s. So now you can multiply this entire equation by tau is by kc. If you multiply this entire equation by tau is by kc, what you get is a tau y by kc s square, because this s will be multiplied to this s, that becomes s square, plus this kc will get cancelled out with this kc, so you will get tau is here, and this term will become 1, and outside we will take h dash. Similarly, the right hand side will be tau is into kc into fi dash s. Okay. If I rearrange this, what we get? We get the transfer function here as h dash s divided by fi dash s, and that is given as kp s divided by tau square s square plus 2 theta tau s plus 1. So you can see that this denominator is having a order of s which is 2. Even though my process was first order, but with its controller, now the overall order of my entire control loop became second order. Isn't it? Initially the process was first order, isn't it? But with this controller, my process became second order, isn't it? Remember, that is what we said. The first order process along with its controller can become second order, isn't it? Now in this case, you can see that this tau square is, भाई क्या दिक्कत है? बताओ, कहाँ इधर मास ट्रांसफर में अटक गए हो तुम? भाई I choose to ignore, but then whenever it is persistent, then and then only I act on it. कोई दिक्कत तो बताओ, मैं अगर I will explain one more time. ध्यान दो इधर, ध्यान ही नहीं दे रहे. So here you can see that tau square is a tau y by kc. Then 2 theta tau becomes just tau y, and kp becomes tau y by kc. The interesting thing to note down here is, what is this tau y and kc are? What is tau y and kc? What is tau y and kc? बताओ, ध्यान दे रहे थे, बताओ क्या है tau y? चलो बताओ, tau y क्या है बताओ? मुझे नहीं पता, तो क्या कर रहे थे? ध्यान क्यों नहीं दे रहे थे? आप बताओ भाई, व्हाट इज tau y? उसके बाद जो है, आप बताओ क्या है tau y? टाइम कांस्टेंट तो नहीं है. अगर टाइम कांस्टेंट भी है तो किसका टाइम कांस्टेंट? आगे उसके बाद पास. बताओ, खड़े हो जाओ तुम लोग, सब लोग एक खड़े हो जाओ, खड़े होके बताओ क्या क्या है. अभी तो पता चलेगा कितना ध्यान दे रहे हो. खड़े हो जाओ, चलो खड़े होके बताओ एक एक करके. आगे बताओ भाई, tau y क्या है? व्हाट इज tau y? उसके आगे tau y बताओ क्या है? फिर इफेक्टिव टाइम कौन? केबीसी थोड़ी है. हाँ भाई, खड़े हो जाओ, बताओ एंजॉय कर रहे हो, बताओ क्या है tau y? बताओ, खड़े हो जाओ, बताओ तो लगे कितना आता है तुम्हें. बताओ tau y क्या है? पास खड़े हो जाओ, बताओ tau y क्या है? आगे, उसकी भी आगे.
चलो तू चेक कर दो.
अरे कुछ तो बताओ. किसको पता है व्हाट इज tau y? रेज योर हैंड. कितने लोगों को पता है tau y क्या है? प्लीज रेज योर हैंड. व्हाट इज tau y हियर? रेसिडेंस टाइम नहीं है. रेसिडेंस टाइम थोड़ी है. क्या है tau y? इंटीग्रल टाइम कांस्टेंट क्या है? इंटीग्रल टाइम कांस्टेंट। अब बताओ केसी क्या है? तुम लोग बताओ, चलो क्या है केसी? केसी क्या है? मास ट्रांसफर कोएफिशिएंट कौन? क्या है केसी? भाई अगर ये शुरुआत है ना तुम्हारी, उससे नहीं बनेगा, उससे नहीं हो पाएगा।
इसको पता नहीं है, हम पता पड़ेगा।
We have lost it even before it started. क्या है केसी?
पता क्या है? वो तो पता ही है,
इधर
वो तो सबको पता है।
आप तो बहुत बहुत क्या रहे थे भैया, बताओ क्या है? रेट कांस्टेंट है। रेट कांस्टेंट है। क्या है केसी? अगर ये शुरुआत है, अगर मुझे ये भी समझाना पड़े कि क्या है केसी और टाउ है, तो देन आई एम काइंड ऑफ इन माय तुम लोग अगर ये भी नहीं पता ना, तो फिर मुझे ही लग रहा है कि व्हाई आई एम टीचिंग।
तुम टाउ आई पूछ रहे
याद नहीं है
मैं टाउ नहीं समझ रहा।
मे बी आई शुड नॉट गिव यू
आई है, टाउ ही तो पता ही है।
नेक्स्ट टाइम ऑनवर्ड्स आई विल नॉट गिव यू लेट द पीपल टू राइट, दे शुड डू सम हार्ड वर्क, व्हाई आई शुड डू ऑल द हार्ड वर्क। क्या ठीक है, बहुत मजा वाली बात अलग है, बस ये अगर शुरुआत है तो बस इसको कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। इस बार रिलेटिव जरूर है, बट आई एम अगेन सेइंग दिस, अगर आप ये सोच रहे होंगे कि बड़े आसानी से पास कर जाओगे इस कोर्स को, तो नहीं करोगे। मैं इसके लिए सबको कहता हूँ, आई हैव डन अर्लियर रिलेटिव और लोगों को 20-25 में भी पास हो गए, इस बार नहीं। अगर 30 में ले आओगे तो यू विल अगेन कम बैक टू द सेम क्लास अगेन। लास्ट ईयर पता है कितने लोग बैकलॉग थे? 50 लोग थे बैकलॉग लास्ट ईयर। मैंने नहीं पढ़ाया, मुझे शांतनु वाज टीचिंग द प्रोसेस फर्स्ट, ठीक है, बिफोर। So I will not be lenient this time, because if this is the level of commitment from the students, then I have to play it in a different way. बताया ना गेम है, and you will play your move, I will play mine. Ultimately मेरा एम तो यही है ना कि आप लोग को पढ़ाना है किसी भी तरीके, whether you like or whether you don't like. So see, just by looking at your face, I can figure out कि आप क्लास में अटेंटिव है या नहीं। I have been here for a long time now, इतना अंडरस्टैंडिंग आ गया है, देख के ही पता लग जाता है कि कौन कितना सीरियस है, ठीक है, कौन कितना सीरियस है वो समझ में आ जाता है, ठीक है। अभी भी टाइम नहीं गया है, हर बार कंप्लेंट करते हो आप लोग, है ना, हर चीज का कंप्लेंट है, हर चीज का कंप्लेंट है ना, ये नहीं मिल रहा है, वो नहीं मिल रहा है। यहाँ पढ़ने के लिए आया हो, पढ़ो ना। Your parents might have done lot of hard work to send you here. You have spent lot of time in Kota. For what? For doing nothing? अगर ये शुरुआत है तो अगर आपको ये लग रहा है कि with this, you know, IIT का डिग्री मिल जाएगा आपको और आप will become successful, I am sure you will not be. लाइफ में सक्सेसफुल वो लोग होते हैं जो बताए कोई भी चीज मिल जाए ना उसको करने का कोशिश करते हैं, ना कि वो कि जो भी मिला है यू हैव टू कंप्लीट दैट, दैट इज व्हाट एक्सपेक्टेड फ्रॉम यू। अगर ये सीरियसनेस यहाँ नहीं है, आई डोंट वांट टू टीच यू प्रोसेस कंट्रोल, मे बी यू शुड बी यू नो लर्निंग द सीरियसनेस एंड यू नो हार्ड वर्क, बट इथिक्स इज मिसिंग, इथिक्स इज मिसिंग। आराम से लोग मोबाइल पे कुछ कर रहे हैं अपना, आई हैव टू इग्नोर इट, इधर इट, मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, अगले साल भी आएंगे उनको भी मैं यही पढ़ाऊंगा, ठीक है। अगर ये क्लास अच्छा रहेगा तो कुछ और एडिशन कर दूंगा, अगर ये क्लास अच्छा नहीं रहेगा नहीं करूंगा, देयर इज नथिंग फॉर मी, देयर इज नथिंग एट ऑल फॉर मी, आई बिकेम प्रोफेसर नाउ, देयर इज नथिंग फॉर मी, ओके। Only I feel bad because there are many good teachers in the department. They are interested in teaching you, but when it is not reciprocating, why people need to practice hard work? अगली बार तो मैं बोलता हूँ कि ये ट्यूटोरियल लेगा आपका, बस This is what the seriousness from the student. आपको हंगामा करने के लिए बोल दो. Many people will come and do the strike and they will put lot of their humor. हर जगह में पॉलिटिक्स. इसके बाहर आओ यार, इसके बाहर आओ. Outside world is more, wicked and cruel. यहाँ को हर चीज करके माफ हो जाता है. या चीटिंग भी करके माफ हो गया ना. असाइनमेंट ही मिला, बाहर करके देख लो चीटिंग, पता चल जाएगा. ठीक. अगर नहीं कुछ कर सकते हो तो कम से कम सीरियस तो रहो यार, थोड़ा सा तो सीरियस रहो. You are only dishonoring your teacher, and I choose to ignore most of the time. I see people, they are not at all interested. They are sleeping. They are doing something in their mobile. They are discussing with their friends something else, not related to the class. And I am figuring out, but still I don't want to pick you up because I am not interested in that. मैं आपको humiliate नहीं करना चाहता. That is not my aim, not at all. अगर आपको लग भी रहा है ऐसा तो I am extremely sorry for that. That is not the aim. aim ये है कि यहाँ अभी 30th में आए हो, एक साल में डिग्री भी मिल जाएगी और seriousness is not there. Do you know how much hard work your parents are doing to send you here? कोई बात नहीं. This you will get when you will send your kids to the school. Then you will understand this. ठीक है. अभी नहीं समझ में. जितना पैसा है बस उड़ा रहे हैं. ठीक है. That is what you are doing. Then it is not correct. You are here to learn something. You are here to get something. Please get. और ध्यान में रखिए, मैं कई बार बोलता हूँ विद्या का दान होता है, वो आपने खरीदी नहीं. So have that humility to acquire. Otherwise ये काम में नहीं आएगी, कभी भी काम नहीं. क्योंकि you have not taken it with honorable. चलो, I am sorry to say this, but क्या था? बैठ जाओ. I am sorry to say this. So in the same system, you can see that in the denominator here, the tau is dependent on tau I and kc. Tau I is a time constant of integral control. So that is the integral time constant. And kc is the controller gain. Both tau I and kc, these are the parameters the user has to fix. So these are the user specified parameters. So depending on what value of kc and tau I you are selecting in your controller, your system can be underdamped, critically damped and overdamped. For example, in this case you can see that if you do not put any integral, any control at all, then this first order system likely to give you a output like this whenever there is a step in. Isn't it? Correct. But let's say if you are having a PI controller with some value of kc, let's say, isn't it? And initially you are using a small value of kc. So whenever the kc value is small, in that case you can see that kc tau I by a under root of that, if this particular term is less than 2, in that case what you are expected to get? You will get this zeta value to be less than 1. So that means your response is going to be oscillatory, and that is why you can see that here you are getting the oscillatory response. And as you increase the value of kc, the value of zeta increases from so here you can see that as you move from here, actually here the kc is 0. Remember here the kc value is 0, that's why there is no control. But as the value of kc increases, you can see first you get a underdamped system, that is why the oscillations are there. As you further increase the value of kc, then your system becomes from underdamped to critically damped. Then it becomes critically damped, and that's why oscillations are not there. There is no oscillation. It's a exponential response. This blue curve you can see. And as you further increases the value of kc, there are no oscillations, but you can see that the system response is becoming more and more delayed and sluggish. Isn't it? Remember, as more and more overdam, the system response is going to become slow. That's what is shown. So this particular figure, there is a meaning why it is plotted like this. It's not arbitrary class. There is a reason why it is plotted like this. Okay. So we will stop here. So your syllabus for your examination is up to this line, up to second order. Okay. Next class tomorrow we will look at, either we will go through the entire syllabus whatever we have covered so far. Okay. You have any doubt, any comment, anything you wanted to ask me? Please come with your doubt. So tomorrow class we will have a doubt clearing, and if you are having any queries, that will be. Okay. Tutorial. Remember Friday batch we will have a tutorial tomorrow. So tomorrow is the Friday timetable. So please come to the tutorial. Okay.
अब मेरा हो गया
We'll stop.
अब मेरा चलो हो गया सी 3 टाइम पूछना होता है इसलिए 3 लोगों से मेरा होगा